What happens when a traditional Irish song is rewritten about zombies? And I have CDs. Now, if you didn't say you have CDs, you'll find out why it's important, and it's kind of funny. This is Sci-Fi Pub Songs and Stories number 268. Look at the coffin with golden handles. Isn't it grand, boys, to be bloody well dead? Let's not have a sniffle. Hell, let's have a bloody good cry. And always remember, the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. Look at the preacher, bloody sanctimonious. Isn't it grand, boys, to be bloody well dead, dead, dead? Let's not have a sniffle. Hell, let's have a bloody good cry. And always remember, the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. Look at the widow, bloody great female. Isn't it grand, boys, to be bloody well dead, dead, dead? Let's not have a sniffle. Hell, let's have a bloody good cry. And always remember, the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. Look at the mourners, bloody great hypocrites. Isn't it grand, boys, to be bloody well dead, dead, dead? Let's not have a sniffle. Hell, let's have a bloody good cry. And always remember, the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. Look at the choir boys, bloody castrati. Isn't it grand, boys, to be bloody well dead, dead, dead? Let's not have a sniffle. Well, let's have a bloody good cry. And always remember, the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. Look at the flowers, all bloody wilted. Isn't it grand, boys, to be bloody well dead, dead, dead? Let's not have a sniffle. Well, let's have a bloody good cry. And always remember, the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. Look at the tombstone, great bloody owner. Isn't it grand, boys, to be bloody well dead, dead, dead? Let's not have a sniffle. And let's have a bloody good cry. And always remember, the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. Look at the whiskey in buckets and bottles. Isn't it grand, boys, to be bloody well dead, dead, dead? Let's not have a sniffle. And let's have a bloody good cry. And always remember, the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. And always remember, the longer you live, the sooner you bloody well die. Welcome to Sci-Fi Pub Songs and Stories. This is the audio edition of my newsletter. I am Marc Gunn. I am a rhythm and folk Celtic musician living here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I play traditional Irish and Scottish drinking songs. I'm also a songwriter, and I write songs inspired by Celtic culture, but also pop culture, things like Lord of the Rings, Firefly, Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, and much more. And if you're new to the show, please subscribe. You can do that at pubsong.com/free, or even better, you can subscribe and download all of my songs in this show. Just send an email to pubsong@kiltfather.net. That will get you an autoresponder with a link to download this month's songs. You'll also get the subscribe link, so it's quick and easy. While you're emailing me to get your free EP, you can also let me know what you're doing while listening to this episode. So we kicked off this show with Isn't It Grand Boys? It's from my CD, Happy Songs of Death. So what's new? I really should talk more about the stuff I sell in my store, but admit it makes me uncomfortable. It's one of those problems with being a musician sometimes. You get a little bit uncomfortable trying to sell. You just want to make music. But that's one of the reasons why if you go to any of my live shows and I say, I have CDs, audience members will shout, "You have CDs?" And it's a little gimmick I use to draw attention to my merch. And of course, it's really, really catchy, infectious, if I could say. So I was listening to the last episode of the podcast when I was talking about writing drinking songs. And while I talked about my song, The Cat Came Back, The Cat's Perspective, I said, "It's from my CD." And then I paused, just like I do in my live shows. And when I listened to the episode, I responded, "You have CDs?" So it got me thinking, could we do the same thing through a podcast? I don't know, but I think it's a kind of fun thing to try. So we're going to make this podcast into a sort of interactive drinking game or CD game. Each time I mention CDs, your job is to audibly respond, "You have CDs?" Or you can also improvise if you need to. When I mention an album pin, you can say, "You have album pins?" Whatever. Heck, you could just do it when I say, "I have upcoming shows." "You have upcoming shows?" Whatever works for you. So here are some of those shows. This weekend and next, I am at Sherwood Faire in Paige, Texas. I'll be flying out there on the 31st of March, and then I'll be there those 2 weekends. I'll be doing at least one Bards show a day. That's the plan, at least. I think I'll have one cat show a day. Jamie Hauser will be singing with me for some songs. So it's going to be a very mix-match show, and I would love it if you can make it out. April 6th, there's a DragonCon Filk Music Internet concert with the Brobdingnagian Bards. We're going to be doing that on Thursday, April 6th. On April 20th is Cat Drinking Songs on Bandcamp. I will be doing an internet show for all of my cat-loving fans, so come check that out. April 21st through 23rd, I'll be at JordanCon here in Atlanta. April 29th is the concert that I'm so excited about. It is the Lost Druid Earth Day biking concert. It's in Avondale Estates, Georgia. And for my birthday, I requested stuff from REI. So I now have a bike that has, they're called panniers. They're basically little bags that go on the back. You can get, there's a rack on the back of my bike, and then there's these panniers that hold stuff. So I'm going to stuff them full of my gear and have an auto harp on my backpack. I don't know if I'm going to strap my PA to the back of my bike or if my friend's going to do it, but I'm expecting he's going to do it. So it's going to be awesome. And then we get to bike over to the Lost Druid. I'm inviting you and anyone who decides to attend to please be as environmentally friendly as you can. That could be by taking public transportation. It could be by carpooling. It could be by biking or walking or however you would like to get over to this venue. I would love it if you came out. I don't have a show time yet. I have a show time, but I don't want to do it then. I don't want to come back late at night. So I'm going to try to see if I can move it earlier in the day. So stay tuned for that. It's Lost Druid, April 29th. And finally, if you want to join me on a Celtic invasion vacation, this is where I take people to see Ireland, Scotland, or other places around the world. This year, we're going to County Mayo, Ireland, and we're going to explore a little bit about pirates, including Grania, the pirate queen, the famous pirate queen, who just amazing story. I'm looking forward to find out more about it myself. So go to CelticInvasion.com for more details. That happens every June. Usually it's the first week of June. So if you are free that period of time, make sure you sign up to the mailing list for Celtic Invasion vacations. All right. So I still like to promote other bands. And although I do have the Irish and Celtic Music podcast, I'm going to try to see if I can keep putting a new Celtic band with a new track that I enjoy in each episode. Now, since April Fool's is coming up, April 1st, I found this funny song by the Celtic Kitchen Party. It is called the COVID-19 Shanty, and it is from Last Call. Here you go.
In the town of Wuhan, some germs from an animal made a big leap and infected a few, and nobody thought it would be a pandemic, and now the whole world's in a hullabaloo. It didn't take long for the germs to go global in planes and trains and cruises by sea. Now locked in our homes and trying to stay sober, we can't even watch the live sports on TV. 6 long months in isolation, 6 long months there was nothing at all. 6 long months in isolation, this lockdown is driving me up the wall. I tried to go out, got sent back in again. I went out again, straight back in again. Sick to death of the social distance and finished the lockdown for once and for all. The experts say keep 2 meters distance and never to gather in couples and groups. And eating at home is a total disaster. I'm fat as a fool eating pasta and soups. Now Trump took it lightly, there's no need to panic. 'Tis only a flu, not to worry at all. Talking shite and blaming China when Mexico begs him to finish the wall. 6 more months in isolation, 6 more months with the toilet roll. I wish to God I had constipation because I had nothing for wiping me whole. I tried to go out, got sent back in again. I went out again, straight back in again. Sick to death of the social distance and finished the lockdown for once and for all. 6 more months in isolation, 6 more months there was nothing at all. 6 more months in isolation, this lockdown is driving me up the wall. 6 more months in isolation, the planet has never looked greener before. But back to the grind to pay off the mortgage. The world just won't be the same anymore.
If you enjoyed that track, make sure you check out the band. There's a lot of fun and funny songs on the, not a lot of funny songs, but there's a few that are really great songs that should be included on your playlist if you like funny music. Some comments. Now, I don't get a ton of feedback for this show, but if you send an email to pubsong@keltfather.net with a short comment about the show or just mention CDs that you love, that's a great way for us to interact and have more of a conversation. In fact, if you need a starter, I'd love it if you could grab your phone, go to your voice recorder app and say, "You have CDs?" And I should point out the inflection and the little leap it really makes it. You can't see the leap, but when I say, "You have CDs?" there includes a little leap, a little bounce, whether it's I'm bouncing in my seat, jumping to the lap of the person next to me, flying across the stage, whatever. It's a great way to add a little bit more to your CD. Good job. Excellent. Yeah. In any case, email me, pubsong@keltfather.net. Marissa Halvorsen emailed, "Hi, Mark. I have been listening to your songs practically nonstop this St. Patty's season. I'm in NOLA, New Orleans, and work on Magazine Street, so season it is. I had to work on the day the Irish Channel Parade rolled, and definitely enjoyed it more with your songs keeping me company while locked in my building by parade goers. Thank you for always keeping me company and my spirits up with your music." I did miss that parade. That was a fun one. New Orleans has some great parades. Of course, I lived in New Orleans a few years back, and I was just, a block off Magazine Street. So I got to experience it the best. And it was like 3 blocks from the Irish Channel, so it was amazing. Kennedy Johnson emailed, "Happy St. Patrick's Day to you, Mark. I hope you and your family are well on this day of green and orange. And I love your podcast. I have today's show queued up and ready to play. Always a tradition for me to listen to your music podcasts on this day." Thanks so much, Kennedy. I had such a wonderful birthday /St. Patrick's Day. I got to sing with my daughters, Inara, both at her school and then at Little Shop of Stories in Decatur, Georgia. And it was a magical day. And then top it off, the icing on the cake was when, after the show, we went out for ice cream and just finishing up eating our ice cream. And then I turn and there's my wife. She was out of town for half the week, so I expected her to come back in the day after, on the 20th, because of her convention that she went to. And lo and behold, there she was. So it was a wonderful birthday. Join the club. As always, this show is brought to you by my Gunrunners on Patreon. If you enjoy this music or my podcast, please join the club. You can get something new every week. It might be a podcast, a song, sheet music, a blog, or a photo. And of course, you will get videos. Every week, I do Coffee with the Kilt Father. It's a video concert series that I do. And then most of the time, it's available only to patrons. You can sign up for as little as $5 per month. And you can save 15% with an annual membership. Thanks to my newest Gunrunners on Patreon, Alice M, Carla A, Triscali, and Aiden B. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to do one more song, and then I'm going to tell you a great story. This is The Maid Went to the Mill. It's from my CD, Kilted for Her Pleasure. hey, so wanton. The maid went to the mill last night, hey, so wantonly. She swore beneath the stars so bright that she should have her corn ground, she should have her corn ground. The miller grinds so free. Then out came the miller's man, hey, hey, so wanton. Out came the miller's man, hey, so wantonly. He swore he'd do the best he can for to have a corn ground, for to have a corn ground. The miller grinds so free. He bade her rest upon a sack, hey, hey, so wanton. He bade her rest upon a sack, hey, so wantonly. Her maidenhead went with a crack, and oh, she got a corn ground, oh, she got a corn ground. The miller grinds so free. Easy up and easy down, hey, hey, so wanton. Easy up and easy down, hey, so wantonly. She scarce could tell her corn was ground, but oh, she got a corn ground, oh, she got a corn ground. The miller grinds so free. Hey, hey, so wanton. 9 months were past and gone, hey, so wantonly. This fair young maid brought forth a son, because she got a corn ground, because she got a corn ground. The miller grinds so free. Her father bade her keep it in, hey, hey, so wanton. Her father bade her keep it in, hey, so wantonly. Cause the miller's man was a wealthy man, and oh, he got a corn ground, oh, he got a corn ground. The miller grinds so free. Oh, he got a corn ground. The miller grinds so free. The story of Isn't It Grand Boys to be walking undead. Of course, I kicked off the show with the original version of Isn't It Grand Boys, the version at least that I perform. And one of the cool things about drinking songs is when the audience gets involved to make their own song. So I don't know the origins of the line where Isn't it grand, boys, to be bloody well dead, and then dead, dead, dead is the response. And it's something that I learned from, I think it was Pandora Celtica at Opus Fest, Opus in Denver, Colorado, many years ago. I think that's where I learned it, but I'm not entirely sure. But it seemed like a great inspiration for a geek, that in particular, to write a song about zombies. And I did not do it. My friend Kathy Daly did. And she turned it into Isn't It Grand Boys to be walking undead. Now, I think when she wrote it too, it was like a little bit before the Walking Dead series came out, because it would have been perfect at that point in time if it was to fuse that TV show into it. But I didn't watch the show, and I guess she didn't either, but it still came out great. It hits a lot of undead tropes, like the brains, the crushed flowers, hunting undead, which of course totally makes me think of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But the brains line is my favorite because it replaces the dead with brains, brains, brains in this total zombie-like style. And the chorus is also a lot of fun because it includes the Wilhelm scream. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but it's the term that's used for the death yell that I make at the end of Just Time for One Bloody Last Cry. And I found this on Wikipedia. This is really cool. The sound is named after Private Wilhelm, a character in The Charge at Feather River, a 1953 Western in which a character gets shot in the thigh with an arrow. This was its first use following its inclusion in the Warner Brothers stock sound library, although The Charge at the Feather River is the third film to use the effect. The scream is believed to be voiced by actor Sheb Wooley. I think that's how it's pronounced, Wooley. But Sheb Wooley, if you're not familiar, he's the guy who is best known for the song Purple People Eater. Apparently did a whole bunch of comedic songs back in the day. So it was a nice little thing to learn. I was like, I know that name. In any case, the trope of all tropes that makes the song for me, though, is at the very end when it talks about up come the hands of another undead. It's the visual there. It's creepy. It's again visual. It's just perfect. It's just like,
Wow. So on the song, the recording, I have Nathan Cdddsss, who performs guitar, whistle, and bass, and he also provides some brains comments, which just, again, makes this song. And I love how this came out. And I'm going to finish up this show with this song, so I hope you enjoy it. In the meantime, I will be back again. I'm trying to get back next week, is my hope. But instead of a story about a song, it will cover different things. So I'm thinking about, like, if I can do slightly shorter episodes, but with lots of music and also some different content in each one. And there will be a couple stories per month, and then in between I might switch things around. We'll see if this works. Who knows? This is from my CD, Sci-Fi Drinking Songs. I hope you enjoy that. Let me know what you think about that CDs comment too. pubsong@keltfather.net. Talk to you later. Here's Isn't It Grand Boys to Be Walking Undead. Sláinte.
Look at the corpses, bloated and rotting. Isn't it grand, boys, to be walking undead? There's no time for praying, just time for one bloody last cry. And always remember, the slower you run, the sooner you bloody well die. Look at the people screaming in terror. Isn't it grand, boys, to be walking undead? There's no time for praying, just time for one bloody last cry. And always remember, the slower you run, the sooner you bloody well die. Look at the preacher feasting on choir boys. Nothing new. Isn't it grand, boys, to be walking undead? There's no time for praying, just time for one bloody last cry. And always remember, the slower you run, the sooner you bloody well die. Look at the widow, she's next on the menu. Isn't it grand, boys, to be walking undead? There's no time for praying, just time for one bloody last cry. And always remember, the slower you run, the sooner you bloody well die. Look at the flowers crushed under molded feet. Isn't it grand, boys, to be walking undead? There's no time for praying, just time for one bloody last cry. And always remember, the slower you run, the sooner you bloody well die. Look at the whiskey, let's down the whole barrel. And it's so grand to go hunting undead. There's no time for praying, just time for one bloody last cry. And always remember, the slower you run, the sooner you bloody well die. Look at the tombstone, see how it's shifting. Up come the hands of another undead. There's no time for praying, just time for one bloody last cry. And always remember, the slower you run, the sooner you bloody well die. And always remember, the slower you run, the sooner you bloody well die.
Thanks for listening to Sci-Fi Pub Songs and Stories. The show is brought to you by my Gunrunners on Patreon. Every week, you'll get a new podcast or video or song or video concert. You'll also save 25% off all the merch in my store. The show is edited by Mitchell Peterson with graphics by Miranda Nelson Designs. You can subscribe and listen to the show wherever you find podcasts. Sign up to my mailing list to read the show notes for this episode and find out where I'm performing. And of course, please tell one friend about this podcast. Word of mouth is the absolute best way to support any creative endeavor. Have fun and sing along at pubsong.com.